things about trading Forex is that you don't actually know exactly which trade is going to be a crazy winner or just another loss.
What's up, everybody? We are currently live.
Taking away the weekly.
Trace back down to what we've got confidence that price is going to be bullish.
Point sort of chasing the market. I was more than happy to stay flat.
Hello everyone.
With the kangaroo toe.
Always recommend trading on the 5 minute.
Some of these exotic pairs in pretty steady uptrend, making these higher highs and higher.
Mostly trend following.
The stimulus in a certain way.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody tuning in. Welcome to another market analysis video where I'll be going over a couple of pairs that I've been kind of scouting this week and some stuff that I'm looking at going into next week. All right, so I'm gonna jump right into it, starting with AUD CAD. You can see I have this popped up on the daily time frame. What I'm going to do is zoom out a little bit because I like to get that nice bird's eye view of the market and really see what it's been doing and where it might be headed next. All right. So AUD CAD here on the weekly time frame, it's showing a dominant downtrend, right? So we're making lower lows and lower highs. And that trend is also reflected in the most recent of times. All right. So if I pull out my brush and we just focus in on this sliver of price, you can see we've been in the downtrend in the most recent of times. All right. So whatever trend that I see off of the weekly, the daily, that sort of dictates my bias as to what type of opportunity that I look for in the market. All right. And granted, I am a swing trader, so I tend to look for moves that, play out over the span of a couple days, in some cases weeks. All right, so really looking for longer term or longer perspective moves here. All right, what I'm going to do now is come over to the daily time frame and show a little bit more of that price action, see a little bit more candlesticks and see exactly what's been happening within this downtrend. All right. All right, so what I have marked out is a level of support turned resistance denoted by this yellow line. All right. And so you can see that once price broke this level, it's come back to retest it. All right. And so you can see I actually have an entry. It's basically at break even right now, but I do see the potential for this downtrend to continue moving and creating lower lows, as that's what the dominant trend is. All right, so that's my general bias. I actually do have a position running right now. And so I have my stop loss set, have my take profit. I'm happy with the risk to reward. That kind of falls within my criteria of what I look for when I want to take a trade. All right. If we take a look at some of these candlestick pattern formations, I like this wick rejection of the upside. And if you've been on my session before, I kind of incorporate the concept of an engulfing candlestick or a supply zone or order block region. I've heard it have a couple of terms used. All right. So you can see it tapped that order block region, and let's see what happens. But I do have a bearish bias on this pair right now. All right, coming over to AUD USD, a very similar outlook that I have on AUD USD as I did have on AUD CAD. Again, we can pop up the weekly time frame and get a nice bird's eye view of the market. Again, you see that dominant downtrend reflected on AUD USD. Not only that, but when we came into this level of resistance, we respected it pretty well. And we've continued making a move to the downside ever since. All right, so again, that is That is my bias, right? Coming over to the daily time frame, you can see we had a nice break and retest scenario. So broke this level of support, came back and retested it as resistance. And you can see that for basically all of today so far, price has been pretty bearish with this nice candlestick forming. It'll be interesting to see if this ends in the form of a bearish engulfing candlestick that might signal some further bearish movement to commence going into next week. One thing I'm a little wary about is this order block region just right above that level of support turned resistance. So in the event that price does spike into that region, I may look for entries there. So kind of just taking AUD USD as a pair of potential interest, kind of on standby. I am wary of the potential for price to spike into that region before what I think will be a continuation to the downside. All right. So those are the Aussie pairs that I'm looking at. We can take a look at CHF JPY. All right, CHF JPY, I have this popped up on the weekly time frame. If we take the trend as a whole in terms of what we're seeing on the weekly, you can see that this is a nice uptrend, right? Higher highs and higher lows being made, and the general movement is to the upside. All right. What I have marked here is a break and bounce scenario. So you can see that price, upon breaking this level of resistance, it's come back to retest that zone. That served as a nice launch pad, and what looks to me will be a continuation to the upside. All right. So definitely a pair I'm watching out going into next week. Coming over to the 4 hour, we can see an even more minor level of resistance turn support broken. So a slight spike just below that level, but what I believe will be a continuation to the upside, given that the dominant trend off of the higher time frames are bearish, or excuse me, bullish, and we've had some decent bullish movement as well commence for this week, and some nice respecting of this level of resistance turn support. All right, coming over to GBP USD. Let me actually pull up the weekly time frame again. So GBP USD, if we take it off the weekly, definitely looks bearish where we're making lower lows and lower highs. And now coming to the daily, it looks like we're in a little bit of consolidation. It's a little bit unclear as to what price may do next from a longer term perspective. We are respecting that level of resistance that we saw off the weekly time frame. And price seems to be pinballing back and forth between two regions in a sense. So if I just draw this consolidation box, you can see that price for some time hasn't broken any key levels of support or resistance off the daily time frame. And I would really like for us to kind of exit out of this consolidation box to give me more confirmation as to where price might be headed next. Given that we have been respecting that resistance off the weekly time frame and the dominant trend is to the downside, I am anticipating some break to the downside as well. All right. But until I get something like this scenario, I really am on standby, just given the fact that I am a swing trader and I look for major breaks of levels and I look for um, longer term moves. But my bias is definitely to the downside for GBP USD. All right, we can come and take a look at USD ZAR. So USD ZAR is kind of in an interesting spot. If we take a look at the weekly time frame, the trend is definitely bullish, right? We've been making higher highs and, excuse me, higher lows. Not only that, but even though the trend has been bearish in the most recent of times, we're respecting this very key level of weekly support, right? Every time we come into this region, we bounce right off of it. So could this be the end of that minor downtrend, right? This sliver piece of price action, and could this weekly support serve as a launching ground for what may be the next move to the upside? All right. Some of the price action on the smaller time frames show that this may be the end to me, right? So we've been making lower lows and lower highs. We know that the overall trend is bullish to the upside, right? So we always have to keep that in the back of our mind. But look at how we're starting to break above those previous highs in the market, right? If I come to the 4 hour, you can see we broke above this key level 4 hour resistance. This nice bullish engulfing candlestick is sort of serving as a signal to me that we're respecting that level, and this may be the start of that bullish movement back to the upside. It would fall in line nicely with the overall dominant weekly bullish trend. And this was, in a sense, may be considered just a nice retracement. We did come back into a nice level of institutional support, and we have been respecting it. All right. So for me, when it comes to USD ZAR, I would I would be patient. As a swing trader, I would love to see if we could come back here and break this level. That would serve as a nice, strong piece of confirmation that, hey, the trend is probably reversing and we want to make a move back to the upside. All right, so those were the pairs that I was looking at for this week and some of the stuff that I was uh, also looking at going into next week. So what I'll do now is take a look at the chat, see some of the pairs you guys have been dropping, and we can take a look at those ones together. All right. So first pair that I see in the chat is gold. So we can go ahead and take a look at that. XAU USD. Gold, I haven't actually taken a look at it in a while. Let's come to the weekly time frame. All right, so weekly time frame shows a very nice bullish uptrend on gold, where we have been making higher highs and higher lows. We've come back to this level of resistance turn support, and we're kind of like in a time frame where we're retesting that region. We've dipped back into this region a couple of times. Price looks like it is struggling to continue this uptrend. And it'll be interesting to see if price can break that level of support, right? So for me, I'm anticipating something like this. Although we have been in a pretty significant uptrend in gold, it seems stretched. It may want to go through a more significant retracement before potentially coming to the upside. And the price action is currently suggesting that, right? So we struggled to break this high, and that's shown by this, also this high as well. We seems as though we're kind of entering a phase of a retracement before the potential move to the upside. So overall, long-term perspective, I definitely see gold going up, but the current price action is suggesting that we may be entering a retracement phase. All right, taking a look at GBP CAD, again, starting with the weekly time frame. Again, for a lot of these GBP pairs, if you look at the monthly, if you look at the weekly, you see a steady downtrend. And then I work my way down through some smaller time frames to kind of build up a case for why I may want to enter the market. But here on GBP CAD, you clearly see a steady downtrend, but then you also see this back and forth motion, right? I just call it consolidation, where it really hasn't made up its mind in terms of overall where it might be headed next. All right. One thing I do want to point out is the fact that we have this order block region here on GBP CAD that has not been tested yet. So there is a potential for price to spike into that region before coming back down and basically starting that cycle of consolidation again. All right. We actually have another region here off of the daily, another order block region that has been tested. Price came and spiked into that region beautifully. And, at least for the past couple of days, price has been pretty bearish, just looking at some of those daily wicks. All right. Again, similar to GBP USD as a swing trader, this is one of those pairs that I'm kind of on standby with. I'm really looking for a significant break of a structure, whether it be breaking above resistance and continuing to the upside, or breaking a significant level of 4-hour support and basically starting that cycle of consolidation again that we saw off the weekly time frame. All right. All right, so in a sense, do we want to finally break above this zone and get some sort of continuation to the upside, or are we going to respect that resistive level of the consolidation box and come right back down? All right. Ooh, USD 30. So, wow, I have not looked at the indices in a while, but we can go ahead and take a look together. It's actually not a pair that I trade anymore. Just for my own personal strategy, I found that it works best for the major currency pairs, exotics, and US oil. But let's go ahead and take a look at USD 30. It's funny, I actually don't even have it on my watch list anymore. Oh, no, wait, here it is. Let's pull that up. All right, so weekly time frame clearly shows just a strong uptrend, right? Have a couple of retracements in there, just with any natural movement of a market, but clearly a dominant uptrend. All right, let's come to the daily. Let's come to the 4-hour actually. So it looks like USD 30 here on the 4-hour is showing a bullish flag, right? So impulse move, bullish flag, and then it's one of those continuation patterns. So we see a break above out of that bullish flag and then a continuation to the upside. Given the strong weekly uptrend, that is where my bias is geared towards. And we can also couple that with this bearish flag off the 4-hour just to stack a couple of our confluences together. All right. I see prices cracking above this level of resistance. And I'm basically looking for a break and bounce scenario here. All right. So going into next week, we may see price to come up a little bit, but I'm really interested in when it starts to come back down, retrace, and if it can kind of line up into this level of broken resistance turn support. I would wait and see how price action develops here. Are we getting some sort of bullish engulfing candle? Are we getting some sort of bullish flag off smaller time frames? Anything that suggests we want to continue this pattern to the upside. But for the time being, I would be on standby. Again, this isn't a trade that this isn't a pair that I trade, but definitely a bullish bias. All right, so I see someone ask if I apply Wickoff and smart money in my trades. I don't use Wickoff in my own strategy, but smart money, I refer to that as order blocks. I've also heard of people referring to them as supply zones or demand zones. So that's something that I do implement into my strategy. One, I look at some of these higher time frames to sort of dictate the bias that I want to kind of formulate in the market. And then I come down to smaller time frames, identify key levels. And when price comes into those key levels, that's when I tend to look for order block regions or smart money positions, if you will, and line up my confluences to build up a case for why I might want to enter the market. All right, so that covers all the pairs that I see on the chat. That covers the pairs that I'm looking at going into next week. Definitely want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll go ahead and wrap this session up. All right, I'll see a lot of you guys next week. Peace.
Hey guys, thanks for watching today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And before you go, hey guys. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And before you go, make sure to check out our guest today and also subscribe to the A1 Trading YouTube channel if you have not already. Risk Calculator is a risk management tool built specifically for MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 to help you position size properly. Their easy to use software will allow you to enter and exit positions with lot sizes that are calculated for you, suited to your risk management settings that you allow for the tool. This is a big thing because a lot of us struggle with over leveraging or accidentally taking a position size too big, and Risk Calculator is there to help. Like I said, with the click of a few buttons, you're able to set your trade and the lot size will automatically be calculated for you so that it suits your risk management plan. In addition to actually setting your trades with the proper lot size, it also allows you to manage your trades as they're going along. Things like trailing stops, moving stops to break even, or even partial take profits are all tools or features available with the Risk Calculator functions that are available on MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5. If you're interested in checking out Risk Calculator, there's a link down below in the description. And if you use that link, it does help to support what we do here on the channel, which is provide free trading content, again, by the thanks to the help of our sponsors. So thanks so much for watching today. Again, make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube if you haven't already, and we'll see you back in the next one.